Well, morning team. It is Monday morning. It's about 10:25 for me. Start of a long, thankful work week. Um, Long day yesterday. Chatted with a few of our teammates. I admitted that yesterday, probably as late as 4 p.m., that I had not taken a shower from Saturday, and I literally still had my coaching shorts on from the sideline. I literally came home, got a defeat beverage, and then slept on the couch and was just, yeah, not in a happy place most of Sunday. It was a long day. So I guess for some, it's a good day because there's no practice today. I think for most, that's really disappointing. Uh, it's like, you're probably going through a bunch of wave of emotions where you finished 4-2 in the regular season. You beat a WFA pro team and you reach the top of the division at number one as the number one seed in the national division or in the East, however you want to put it. So that is, to me, success. And that you need to be congratulated for doing that, especially with the fact of being only a second year team and coming off a first year of going 1-5 in the regular season. So that's a pretty damn good turnaround, in my opinion. As always, or as much as I can, when I'm in front of the team, I say thank you. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to my teammates, players, coaches, ownership, our what seems to be a small paparazzi of photographers we have. I think at last count we had like four. Medical people, the spouses and the assistants on the sidelines have been tremendous. People from the water to the cold rags. I mean, just I mean, if you look at that aspect of our chaos family, it's tremendous. I mean, it's almost like borderline emotional when you think about the members of our team who've included their family, their children, to help our team. I mean, it's just been tremendous, even on the road. So I can't say thank you enough. I can't say thank you enough to my teammates yet again for accepting me as your head coach. Someone who lives another state, hours away, and I appreciate that. And I don't know. Look, when you make the decision to be an athlete, to be a coach, more specifically, to be a member of a team, it is a very high risk, high reward activity. The risk is your season will not end the way you want it to. Your season will end with a loss. Doesn't matter if it's your kids' pee wee football, youth soccer league, up until the NFL Super Bowl. Somebody hoists the trophy and somebody goes into the record books as a loser. Welcome to life. Many of you, I don't know what all the sports you follow. I'll use this past year, this current year, whatever, as an example. Let's start with just the short 2 months ago. Women's NCAA March Madness. South Carolina women's basketball team goes into the Final Four, 36-0, as dominating as any team to play the sport. And you lose the semifinal game to Iowa. I can only imagine what their locker room looked like after that loss. I can only imagine what was going on in people's hearts and minds about their team, about their teammates when you blow a game by 4 points that you should have won. Let's go to the NFL. NFL playoffs this past season. Los Angeles Chargers playing Jacksonville Jaguars. NFL playoffs. Los Angeles at halftime, 27, Jacksonville 0. I think at one point, one of the Los Angeles defensive backs, I got to go back. I know he had at least 3 picks. He might have had 4. I think it was 3. On their way to the next round until the second half arrived. Final score 31-30, Jacksonville. I can only imagine what their locker room looked like and what was going on in their minds about what decisions were made, what plays were made, what plays were not made. And I say all of that because when you're a member of a team, you got to rely on your teammates. It's fun beating a capital city 27-0 and dancing and jumping. It's fun watching a teammate scoop up a fumble and return it at Derby City and we win. It was fun. A lot of smiles. But when it doesn't go our way, when we fall short, the same camaraderie and bond you have when you beat a team, you need to still maintain that. During a loss, I'm not expecting to see smiles after a loss, but what we can't see is you letting your emotions and your anger take control. And then you want to separate yourself from the team because you're not happy or you feel a certain way. You just can't do that. As you've gotten to know me over these 2 seasons, for people who've been playing 2 years, and as you've gotten to know me doing your first year, you know now, after hearing my mouth via Zoom, via practices, that I like to use real world situations in our football life. So your regular life and your football life, they're parallel, but they're very similar. And a lot of the things you learn in your regular life carry over into football, and what you learn in your football life carries over in the regular life. That's something we all do, I think, in our football lives. That I don't know. I don't know one meeting I haven't been in where someone has used a football reference. We're down. We gotta get our sales back up. It's the fourth quarter. Hey, we gotta close out. We can make a comeback. I mean, I know that could be for any sport, but because football in America is number one, people who don't even watch and like football use football references. But I do that quite often. I compare football to what? All together now, like driving a car. And I use that because when you first learn how to drive a car, at least most of us, it's difficult. It's uncomfortable. You go from a 10, 12-year-old riding a bike, pushing a skateboard, to now being a 15-year-old, 16-year-old piloting a moving vehicle, which some people get quickly. Other people, well, today's youth, some people are 20 years old, haven't got their driver's license yet. They just get an Uber. But the people who like to drive, it's a progression. You start as a young person in the books, learn how to parallel park, and then you graduate to what? Hot or cold drink between your legs, you're texting, you're reaching in the back seat, you got your arm out the window, you're driving with your elbow, you're driving with your knee. And why? Because you're comfortable. You're comfortable being engaged in that activity. And that's how I want you to play football. I want you to step on the field having great knowledge, having confidence, having the desire to be a champion. I don't want that to change. Okay. I want you to take time over these next days, weeks, whatever, everybody from top to bottom, right? At the end of a season, there's decisions to be made, right? How can we get better? What more can be done? How do I want to even want to play anymore? Do I want to coach anymore? Do I want to? There's a lot of things going on. And when seasons end with a loss, you know, the power of doubt starts to seep in. It's like, it's a lot of work. One of the first things I say to all of us when we get going on this journey is it's hard. When I recruit a player, when I was here in Detroit recruiting people that I'd run into, I would say, hey, it's great, but I'm going to warn you, it's hard. We were at a training facility last year in Columbus. Had like three or four, we come out the training facility, there's these three or four girls who look like they could have been an entire offensive line. And we're like, hey, do you want to play? A couple of them were like, yeah, I think I might be interested. I replied with, I got to warn you, effing hard. And one of them said, wow, that's not a great way to recruit people. And I go, no, it's the best way to recruit people. Because if you know up front you're getting in something that's hard, when it gets hard, you'll be able to handle it. If I told you it was just going to be all sunshiny days, you won't lose a game, you'll never have any adversity to face, and then you do, you're going to be 10 times harder or madder than if I didn't warn you coming through the door that when you get here, you got to know how to play. You got to understand the game. You got to do your job. You got to make plays. You got to block. You got to catch. You got to tackle. You got to come to practice. You might have to attend a Zoom meeting at an inopportune time for you. You might consider spending some extra time with the coach on an off day. I highly recommend, if you're going to play football, got to be strong. Strong-minded, strong-willed, physically strong. You got to be fit. So I say these things because as you progress into the next stage of your football life, these are things you got to be asking yourself. I have had a coach years ago. There's a lot of football sayings and cliches that you run into, and his one was like, it's the mirror season. Like, the what? Yeah, it's the time of the year where you got to look into the mirror. You got to look into the eyes of the person staring back, and you have to have a very deep conversation with that person looking back at you. And he said, I know that sounds weird, but he also said, am I talking about your life or am I talking about football? Self-analyzing who you are. What do you want out of this life? What do you want out of your existence? Do you choose to be happy? Do you want to be successful? I mean, that's always been the question of life, right? Like, what am I here for? What's my purpose? Where am I going? I think for those who maybe spent time at a college campus, right? And then you leave a couple semesters. What's the famous saying? Trying to find myself. Parents of the world hate that, but sometimes you need to take some time to figure out what direction you want to go in this life. Okay. And again, am I talking football? Am I talking life? The two intersect. So you as a football player, you have to ask yourself, what can I do to get better? I got hardly any playing time this year. I'm on the sideline, I'm paying my fees, I got the equipment, but I don't get put in a game. What can I do to improve? Okay. Some of my best advice moving forward is now that our season has ended, when our women's tackle football season ends, whether it's the other league, our league, right now, all leagues are pretty much ending in July. Our season ends right after that, the NFL begins. So you have NFL training camp. Myself, I know MD, I think we are involved in high school football. High school football has already started. So one of the best ways to improve yourself is to get closer to the game. So if you're able to talk to your local area high school, if you're close to a high school, if a friend that you have kid goes to a high school, you live near your former, whatever the case may be, send the head coach an email, send the AD an email. Say, hey, look, have you got any camps coming up? Can I be involved? Hey, head coach, this fall, can I attend a couple practices and sit in a meeting and explain to them who you are, what you just went through? You get a lot of no's, right? All you need is one yes. And why would you do that? To get better, to have a better understanding of what I mean. Chaos practices are 2 days out the week, kind of, where the boys and the men, as I said, high school, we're practicing 6 days out the week with a game. College and pro, it's 7 days out the week. For us, it's two, kind of. For some of our teammates over the last month, it's been 0. Now, I get it. You work, you live far away, you have children, you have obligations. We all do. There's not too many activities in our lives that will be successful if we're not training, if we're not practicing, if we're not working on our craft. We have a teammate on our roster who recently passed an exam for her career to help her advance in that career. I'm going to bet she had to work her ass off before that exam to pass that exam. I mean, I'm just going out on a limb guessing that the day of the exam wasn't the first time she saw the material. Many of us on this team, based on the sidelines, right? We got water girls, water boys, we have children. Some of you have toddlers, some of your spouses, significant others have young little babies. We had a couple of babies at the game, cute kids, man. I got to say that. Others have grown children. I have a 15-year-old. I know Coach Charles. I think he said his daughter's like 20. Okay. So we have an obligation to make sure that our children turn out better than us, right? That's typically when you're a parent or a guardian, that you want the kids, the children that you're raising, looking after, to have a better life than the current life that we have. Even if the current life you have is very successful, you want your kids to be even more successful. So what do we expect out of them? What do we expect them to do? What contribution do we want our kids to put in to their success once they're able to? Little 5-year-old can only do so much, right? But at some point, that 5-year-old is going to be an 8-year-old. We're going to expect them to do their homework and be a good kid and to put the work in. We're going to expect our high schoolers to do their assignments and get good grades and maybe go to college or go to somewhere that's going to make you better. Shouldn't we ask the same of ourselves as coaches and players? That if we want a better outcome to a season, then we got to do more. You got to put more work in. You got to put more time in. You're also entering the off season. The off season now starts, well, after the clock reads 0 of your last game, win or lose, up until January. When January gets here, that's considered the preseason. So what we do in January is getting ready for April when the season starts. So between July, because I think you would take a week or two off, and January, which is about 6 months, what are you willing to do to get better? Go to your local high school, see what you can do about volunteering or getting more knowledge. I was going to pull it up, but I didn't want to be on forever doing this video. You live in the Buckeye State, you live in Columbus, go to Ohio State football, look up a grad assistant, send them an email, give them a call. Is there any chance I can attend a practice? Is there any chance I can sit in on a meeting? Probability of a no is probably 95, 98%, but you never know. I told you in the preseason about telling your fans and family that you're a women's tackle football player, that maybe one day you can end up on an NFL team as a coach. because there's several right now in the league who are former opponents of some of us. Angela Baker with Pittsburgh Passion. I think she's still on the staff of the New York Giants. Okay. So I'm saying all this so you can increase your knowledge about the game, how to get better. Just for the sake of time, I'll say lastly, with this video, go back and look at the last game. Look at the game film. When you become a head coach, CEO, district manager, someone in charge, you will be put in a position of having to make a decision. And you have to weigh that decision. Sometimes you get a couple of weeks, a couple of months, a quarter, or you'll have about a timeout to make a decision. And you live with it. And you look at how amazing of a kicker we have. And you want to put that kicker in every best situation to make a good kick. And when you look and go, does my team have the fortitude on 4th and 2 to get those 2 yards? Am I going to put the faith and trust that we can get that extra 2 yards with 39 seconds left? They would bring the clock down to probably 30 seconds if we could clock it to help my kicker have a better chance to make a kick. That's the decision you make. Could you have made another decision? Of course. But that's the decision that was made, and I will live with it. But I'm going to tell you one other thing. That final decision is usually dictated by previous situations in a game. It is said in this game that you do not win and lose in a football game on the last play. What did you do on play 13? I don't know what play 13 was. Could have been offense, could have been defense, could have been a punt. What did you do on play 20? What did you do 2 weeks prior to the game? How many practices did you make? Did you log into a Zoom call? That determines final outcomes. The workout and the training session you have sometime this upcoming August, October, November, that is going to assist you in a play sometime in April or May. Go back and look at the film. Pick out yourself. Now, some of you are going, I can't pick out myself, coach. I didn't play. And that sucks because I want everybody to play. When you beat a capital city 27-0, my goal is to get everybody on the field. When you're in a tight playoff game where you win or go home, it's hard to just get everybody out there. Okay? If you're involved in this game, you need to look at yourself, how you played, what you did great, what you did good, what you did bad, and ask yourself, what could you have done to make a better play? Did you stay on that block long enough? Did you get downfield? Did you catch the ball? Did you do your coverage? These are things you got to ask yourself. Did I have a false start? Did I line up incorrectly? All of these things culminate towards the end of the game, having to have to make tough decisions. Okay. This is an assessment on me as a coach and making decisions. It's also an assessment on player, on preparation. And these are things you have to look in the mirror and ask yourself. What more can you do for your team? And when I say team, I'll keep that vague. I know some people get angry and want to move on to another team. It's fine. It's a free country. I get it. I used to coach another team. Okay. Now I'm with this team. So change happens. I get it. But I can tell you this, no matter where you land, no matter where you play your football, no matter what you do in this life, you got to put in the work. It's not magic. You can never be a millionaire if you don't work at it. You can never be $100,000 heir if you don't save any money. It's kind of hard to be rich and wealthy if you don't save and invest. It's not magic. You can buy all the scratch tickets and gas taking lottery you can get your hands on. Yeah, that's not the key to success. So as we go into this off season, what more can you do to get better? What can I do as a coach to make myself better? Search for those answers. Reach out to your teammates. Be thankful of a tremendous season that we had. For you second-year players, you started out 0-5, won a game, and then lost a playoff game. And this year, we came out hot. Had a few hiccups, but you fought. And you got to number 1 in the East. What do we need to do to get the Canton? All right. Video was way longer than what I wanted to make. Maybe a little spiritual and philosophical. What else is new? That's just who I am. I'll be in touch. Probably some other postings. I'll be talking to each and every one of you individually about an array of things. And I'm going to miss you. I might actually getting kind of emotional because I'm going to miss you. And to see my teammates' faces at the end of the game was hard because there was a lot of emotion, and that emotion was tied into how much work you put in. And then to see it disappear. So my heart's heavy. I love y'all. And again, we don't say chaos on 3, family on 6 because it sounds good. It's the truth. All right. Reach out to me. We'll be talking. Take care.